All right. Hi, everybody. Good morning to those of you who are on this side of the world. My name is Anupa Pradhan. I'm the Vice President of Import Contracts at Sealink. And it's good to be back. And thank you, Chris, and your team to always make this possible and helping me, uh, you know, turn up with these topics and these presentations. I can't do it without you all. So thank you very much. Thank you so much. Um, I'll get straight into it because I think everybody wants to know. Uh, we're all aware that the challenges in our industry, the challenges that we face, it's getting crazier by the day. I think what we used to go through in 2019, I don't think any of us can recognize what the industry is uh, like right now. It's completely different. There is nothing that we can take as a learning from the years gone by. And as the world kind of also, is coming back into its new normal, limps back into reality and normalcy, I'm afraid we can't really expect the same out of logistics, not just yet. Um, a chain is no stronger than its weakest link, and each and every port in the world during the pandemic suffered. Uh, these ports that I've put up on this slide, they're not just any ports. What they have in common is that they all had interrupted service. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. They all had interrupted service. Some of them were closed. Some of them had, major closures. Some of them partially closed, etc. So while we worked from our homes, the ports remained open so that they could service the trade that was still going on. The workers became frontline workers, just like our doctors did and our nurses did to fight COVID. Uh, some of these ports throughout the pandemic never shut down, actually, not even a day. And some even now are trying to give out extra operational hours so that they may be able to deal with the kind of influx that they're having. Governments instead, they had restricted a lot of movements in these ports. So for example, workers weren't allowed to work a certain amount of time. If there was the shift capacity was down to 50% because the government said that that has to be the case. There was social distancing, whatnot. But we I don't think anybody gets the actual picture of what it is like at these ports in the times of COVID because nobody is there to look at it. Think of what you all saw in supermarkets where you had barely anyone there, no food, no bread, no toilet roll. Similar sort of stuff was going on ports. People weren't at work. Some of them lost their lives to COVID. There's quite a few cases because these people never stopped working. Um, the pandemic did spread in the ports, and what I put down over here. The reason I put down these particular ports, there's a reason for it, is that these are very big ports. They are actually the hubs of the countries that they're in. Ningbo, Yantian for China. I mean, it's big. There's not a port in China that does as much cargo as Ningbo and Yantian. And to have them suffer, be closed even partially, or even one terminal closed partially, it's a big deal. Mundra, everybody knows about how important Mundra is to the internal network of India. The entire North India ICDs are serviced by Mundra. This port having a breakdown is a problem. Long Beach, it's the lifeline of the US. Houston, lifeline of the Gulf. So we've got that's the reason why I chose these particular ports and not some of the others, because some of the others were closed. Like I know for a fact that some ports in Europe were shut, some ports in Africa were shut, but these are the big ones. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. So even though we're like well into the last quarter of 2021, these things haven't really straightened out yet. I mean, I feel like when I go out right now, that none of the pandemic is really here anymore. Things are getting back to normal, but it's not the same in all other countries. Ningbo, in fact, was shut. Not even. I'm trying to think. It was probably 2 months back. So we're still facing this. We're not nearly done yet. And so when I see that the last strong is the weakest links, these are all weakest links at some point in time in the last couple of years. One way or the other in the world, there is a weakest link right now. As we go ahead with the months, I think every single month we've had some or the other weak link. Now this is pandemic, but I don't think anybody needs an introduction to what happened with Ever Given. And I don't need a slide here to show you guys. I'm sure you'll have all seen several memes about that debacle. So here's a question I will ask. I generally don't ask questions of the mid, but does anybody want to take a guess as to how long that ship was stuck in the Suez Canal? Any guesses at all?
It seems like it was about 3 months. Is that right? Or is it?
So if Chris, it seemed like that, right?
Yeah.
For me as well, it seemed like, oh my God, this is never ending. I had, people innocently asking me, how does that ship being stuck in the Suez affect me out here in the US? Trust me, it was barely 6 days that ship was stuck, but the world suffered a loss of roughly $9.6 billion worth of trade.
Wow.
That's the kind of effect a small little, and I'm going to call it small, it wasn't small, but a small little ship being stuck in one small little canal is going to cause us. So just think of the catastrophe that last year has brought on these ports being shut, being not serviced 100%, work capacity, blah, blah, everything that I just said so far. So now I go to the next thing, because that's not all. I mean, if what everybody was predicting about the COVID pandemic would have gone as per predictions, so, the estimates were that imports are going to drop into the US by 21.3%. July was going to drop by 18.2%, so on and so forth. But that's not what happened at all. That was completely untrue. And everybody saw it within probably the first 3 months of the pandemic, that nothing went down. In fact, everything kept going up, and by numbers that are astronomical. Like, it's crazy to imagine that we were importing this much and now we're importing like a much higher percentage. Even the exports, they increased by $155.1 billion in July 2020. And that's just July. On the left-hand side, I have this little graph. It doesn't show everything, but it shows you exports that each of these countries have had in 2020. And you can see that China curve going like, all over the place. So while we all know that imports hit a new high and all of that, but export wasn't far behind. So while a complete downturn or shutdown was expected, this didn't happen at all. The export out of China rose by such a degree that most lines struggled to get their inventory to China so that they could accommodate this unprecedented volume. There was also the fact of they had all the PPP, they had all the gloves, they had all the masks. So everybody is trying to get their containers to China somehow because there's not enough containers there. So again, you have this crazy imbalance that was, quite striking. Now it doesn't end. And now here I come to talking about specifically US. It doesn't end at that, those two things. But within the US, we also suffered quite a bit. So many more weaker links. Like, I don't even know where to start at this point. Trucking, chassis shortage, rail yard congestion. Even today, I have about, I think, 7 people who are telling me that we're trying to rail build this container and the shipping line says that the rail says the It's already cut, not gonna cut till the next 20 days. No one knows what's going on with the rail congestion, equipment issues, port issues. Let's not forget climate, which keeps happening to us, whether we are in a pandemic or not. We had storms last year. We already have started seeing storms this year. This directly affects ocean trade. Reduced workforce all over because no one is at 100% capacity yet. So I always go back to an example. I don't know if any of you all remember, but a couple of, I want to say 6 months back or maybe 5, there was a strange shortage of pallets. Like literally there was a, and that would be the weakest link, and that point would be pallets. Who even thought that a shortage of pallets is going to cause such a big problem that people can't load cargo pallets? I mean, I did not, trust me, been in this industry for a long time. I've never heard of this before, that there's a pallet shortage and hence we can't load containers. I mean, it was crazy. Now, this is the video that I was talking about, and I'm pretty sure most of you know about it. Um, So this video is from September 2nd. After that, there was a point when this went to over 150 ships at Long Beach, just waiting to be berthed at the port and to be offloaded. Currently, I read that there was over 60. So hopefully we're seeing the congestion come down, but I'm not very sure because we're going towards holiday season and I don't know. Anyway, the ports over there, the West Coast ports are allowing a 24/7 pickup currently, and I'm sure we can imagine what kind of stress that puts on those workers there, but at least they're open 24/7. Secondly, all major lines have literally stopped giving out bookings from Long Beach, Oakland, Portland, Seattle. Very few. So that's also one of the reasons why we might be seeing congestion come down, because they're just kind of like shutting it down. Because I don't think anybody knows what other way there is to get this congestion in control. So another chart, it's just an idea of how high the demand this is just Los Angeles, has been compared to previous years. And here you can see that 2020, that green colored, this is the green colored line for 2020, rise up during the last half of 2020, contrary to what the experts had predicted. So we might keep blaming the shipping lines, the ports, the terminals for creating a situation that is adversely affecting the supply chain. And while their reactions to outside factors might not be, been the very best or what we've expected, but truth be told, one of the major factors driving this train wreck is the unpredictable rise in demand and an unprecedented rise in purchasing power of goods. If anyone asks me the question of what I foresee, all I can say is I don't have a crystal ball to how many bikes people are going to order for this Christmas. Because I don't know how many of you know, but there was 500 bikes that were stopped at the port for the longest time. So there's people buying out there every day, and that's in addition to everything that we've got here. It's kind of the perfect storm. This slide, I didn't even change much on this slide since the February presentation with TradeFox, because I don't see anything changing. I don't see there being any difference, not yet. We will see this again. We will still see the pandemic effects. It's a butterfly snowball effect. It's not done yet. There is still reduced capacity. There is equipment imbalance. consumers are still spending pretty high. There are increased freight rates, congestion. I don't know what I can change in this. I don't see much changing. I prepped my presentation in September and I tried to update it as much as I could to see if there are any changes coming in and stuff like that. But just in addition to this, because I haven't put this on my presentation, but off late, the most recent conversation within supply chain and within freight forwarders is this power supply shortage in China. And I don't know how that's going to affect us. It's too soon for me to actually predict, but I do think that that will have some sort of an effect on us for sure. So, and I think I'm hearing it's the same case in India too. I didn't hear it as bad as China, but it's too soon for me to say, but I know that these things are going to affect supply chain. There's always going to be something or the other that's coming up every month that's going to affect us. And none of the previous problems have been solved as yet for us to move on into a clean space and, start afresh, basically. So I hear and understand everyone's frustration. Trust me, I get a lot of phone calls in the day, people asking me, why is the shipping line doing this? How come they charge us for that? How come the port doesn't give us additional free days and so on and so forth? Believe me, as your 3PL provider, we can try our best to make sure that the chain remains as seamless and smooth as possible. But we also depend on all of these outside factors, which are not in our control. But hopefully our extended vision can be the solution that is required to navigate these turbulent waters. But to conclude, I would just say that well-oiled machine runs silently and smoothly unless it's disturbed, and then it rattles and creaks. I am, though we are that kind of machine right now, but I'm quite proud of this industry that no matter what it has faced in the last 2 years now, almost two, because we're almost at the end of 2021, it has not come to a screeching halt. We have still all done the best that we could. And I will give credit to the shipping lines, to the ports, to the terminals, to the rails, even though a lot of people are questioning how they've done business. But the fact is that everybody was dealt with a very strange hand in cards, and I think we've all played to the best capacity that we could have. So that's pretty much what I wanted to, hopefully everybody can understand a little bit more about what goes into the supply chain industry. It's not just about one country or one route. Everything is depending on everything else. Yeah, that's pretty much the end of it. And if anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Anupa. I'd like to jump in with a question right as the first one here. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the exorbitant prices of shipping. I mean, in one hand, I see from your presentation even more clearly that there are some big problems. Even the scale of those problems I didn't quite understand, and I didn't know anything about a pallet shortage, for example. I've heard about container shortages. So I know there's lots of problems and delays, but does that justify like a $10,000 TEU charge for moving a container across the Pacific?
So
do you think that's fair?
I'm not gonna say whether it's fair or not, because at the end of the day, I don't know the exact cost of actually getting those containers to the place that they need to be at and to move them out. Yes, of course, these prices look really high and crazy. So if there is a body that's going to be a watchdog and look into the depths of what a shipping line has to pay, that's the only time we're actually going to get that answer. Because up until now, before 2020 happened, we were paying ridiculously low prices for freight. There's no way that a ship and a container from New York to, say, China was costing us only, or costing the shipping line only $200 to carry, but that's what everybody was paying. Now, I'm not saying that that's reason or justification for this price, but I do feel that the way shipping lines decide their pricing is completely based off of the cost and what revenues that each of their vessels can bring in. So hence, it's very difficult, I think, for anybody who is not sitting in that seat to say what is a fair price or not. It's very unfair to me. I hate it. I hate paying, I hate looking at $5,000 up every week, or every 2 weeks, especially on the imports. But you do have to accept the fact that on the exports, where the shipping lines know that they need to take the inventory out to other places, those rates have not gone up like that. With that kind of vengeance, I would say. West Coast, where there is such a problem, even those rates, only recently in the last couple of months, when Long Beach started having this crazy issue with the ships just not getting offloaded, because this is the shipping lines now trying to dissuade people from using that port or from doing business from that port. They know that they can't really stop business from there, but this is their way of probably reducing congestion. But I don't think that export rates went up by that much as to what a rate should ordinarily be. On the import side, I really do believe, Chris, that it's not all what it seems, that it's not just the container coming from, say, China to USA. That container to get to China to, maybe get repoed from, say, in India and taken to China. There's so many things that are involved in the pricing of these things that I don't want to, judge it. I'm not in that place to judge it. Though, yes, of course, these rates are high. I agree with you completely, but I do believe that there is some reasoning behind it.
Thank you. I think Abhay is trying to speak up. Abhay, if you want to unmute your mic. Yes.
Yeah. So, when do you think, Anupa, this imbalance of container availability to various ports, where the movement of cargo from one port to another port, wherever it was regular, it has become very irregular, and the customers are facing a lot of issues in getting the empties for exports as well as imports, and the prices of the, whether it is 20 Qs or 40 Qs, it is like nothing to talk about. What I have heard, that even that the 20-feet container from like China to some place, it is costing $30,000, irrespective of the cost of the product. So when do you think, when this shipping line is going to, put some balances on the availability of containers to various ports, and which is, affecting a lot of business and cross country?
I'm sorry, what exactly are you questioning? The rate or the availability of container?
Availability of container, because the rates depend on the, imbalance of container availability of various ports. Earlier it was not there, based on the, cargo moving in. So every shipping line is eyeing where what is the, flow of cargo from which port to which port, which country to which country. They are, based on that, they put the container on those ports. Right now it is totally imbalanced situation. So when do you think this shipping line is going to balance this a little bit? I don't think that they are going to do it, in a short time. But
it's not about when they're going to do it. It is about how effective is it going to be as to what they're doing, because they are already doing it. They are already bringing in empty containers from other countries into, say, if there's a container shortage in New York, they are already bringing in empty containers from around New York into New York. Whether those are enough, we don't know. But they, the way that shipping lines work, obviously, it depends on trade. So if a container is going to ship from New York to Mundra, and Mundra is going to have that container to ship it back to New York, that's
Mhm,
perfect. But that's a very idealistic scenario. What
mhm,
generally happens is New York ships a 40 to Mundra, or a 20. Let's take a
mhm,
realistic scenario, a 20 to Mundra, and there's
mhm,
like 120s there, but Mundra actually wants 40s. So
mhm,
now the shipping line has to try and get those 40s from some other country, because
mhm,
US may not have that trade going into Mundra as much as what
mhm,
the shipping
mhm,
line might need, or what the
mhm,
customers might need. So
mhm.
to answer your question in short, shipping lines are already doing this. It's just that it's not obviously visible to everybody because it's not advertised in that way. They barely advertise or market what exactly they do and how they carry out their plans. But at the end of the day, the reason why we're even seeing containers come in is because they are moving stuff around for those containers to be there, which is actually, like I answered Chris's question before, one of the reasons why those freight rates are that high. Though they're not, I don't know about 30,000. I've been on the import side from China for the whole of this year, and it didn't hit 30,000 from
Yeah,
the
but it,
shipping line.
yeah,
But what
from the
you saw,
shipping line from China to Nigeria, I would say there is like one metal which is silicon metal. Silicon
Mhm.
metal before COVID situation happens to be pricing at $2,000. Due to this shipping cost, it has gone up to $9,000,
yeah, no, I
and
I do agree that the rates have gone up.
they are quoting the freight to 30,000 level to Nigeria,
Mhm.
Lagos.
Yeah, no, I do agree that the freight has gone up. What I'm trying to say is that when you do look at the freight, you have to, also take into account that it's probably the freight that the shipping line is giving, a forwarder over there, and then that forwarder is the only one who has that contract, and then, five other forwarders are buying from that forwarder, and then because that's also, kind of inflates the costs a little bit. So I'm not saying that the rates didn't go up. The rates absolutely went up, and those
Yeah,
the equipment.
even if from the Southeast Asian region, there is completely chaos in the shipping. If I talk about
Yeah,
even suppose like from Singapore or Malaysia port, it is a 3 to 4 day sailing. If you ship the containers next 3 days, it arrives to Indian ports. Now it happens to be $300 to $400. Now the freight is like $3,000 to $4,000 from Singapore or
yeah,
Malaysia or Thailand or Hong Kong. It
yeah,
is like that scenario, which is
yes.
making business unviable, particularly
That
in
is
scrap
exactly
rate.
what my presentation was about. So yes, I know, I'm aware.
I used to move like hundred of containers out of Hong Kong, where from Hong Kong to India, the freight happens to be was like maximum $600. Now it
Mhm.
is $4,000. And in the scrap business, if you're paying $200 on the logistic cost per metric ton, so it is going to, escalate the price. And here the customer and the local markets, based on the pricing, they're not going to adjust it. So business has gone down. We are facing a problem a lot. We have a lot of contracts which is not happening, it's like it is taking 2 months, 3 months. Everybody's saying, oh, freight has gone up, I can't ship the material. They have the
Mhm.
contract in hand, yeah.
Yes.
So that is a real situation, happening. I used to import out of USA, Europe, or the Southeast Asian region. I do a lot of cross-country trade as well, and everywhere the scenario is same. And we are facing a lot of problem of this, availability of containers and things and that. freight apart from that. Like, yeah, okay, 50%, 30%, 40%, but it is going to in like 1000%. It has gone up like that scenario. As I told you, to Nigeria it is costing 30,000, but the factory which has to run, they have to buy some stuff at that cost.
Yeah.
So this is the market scenario for what is happening. So just I wanted to give you some pictures of what is happening out of. You have the fair idea about out of the US
But
market, but I
Mr.
wanted to
Kumar,
give you
that
some
is
idea about
exactly
the
what
Southeast
my
Asia.
presentation was all about.
Yeah.
The chaos that is happening. And I think, that I have tried to explain or point out the reason why all of these things is happening. So I completely agree with what you're saying, but you're telling me the exact same thing that I've said over in my presentation.
Yeah.
Yes, it's terrible that business is going down, but market has to correct itself. It
Yeah,
is the
exactly.
demand that is driving all of this craziness. That is one of the major points as to why, if there was no demand, these rates
Mhm.
wouldn't have gone up. There wouldn't have.
Mhm.
Well, looks like we lost her just for a moment. Yogesh and Divyani, I see your hands are up. I'm sure that she will join back in 1 second as soon as her connection is restored.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. Hold on just a moment till we get Anupa back on here.
Sure.
I see you've got your hand up twice. It looks, there she is. All right, Anupa. Yogesh is here. You're on mute though.
Yes, hi.
There we
Sorry.
go. Right.
So yeah, basically, my laptop just ran out of battery. I didn't realize that I had. But yeah, that is basically what is happening right now, and I know that's my everyday. That is my everyday, and that's why presentation to try and explain it to everybody. And I know you guys are frustrated with it because your business is affected. We get that, but as a freight forwarder, all I can do is try to explain what is happening. I can't do anything more than that and handle your business. That's the other thing that I can do. So yeah.
But and we have Yogesh. You want to go first, and then Divyani. We have about 10 minutes left.
Sure.
Go ahead, Yogesh.
Okay, sure. Yeah, this is Yogesh from Exim Route, Singapore. So from Anupa's point of view, just wanted to understand, like in this all craziness, which of the shipping lines, let's say Maersk, MSC, Hapag-Lloyd, etc., which of the shipping lines handled it best?
I think Maersk, but I'm biased. And some other freight forwarder who has a better relationship with MSC is going to say MSC. Somebody else is going to attack. So this is but my personal opinion, Maersk. Even now, I believe, what Maersk is doing is more conducive to business. They are, even though some of their stuff we're not happy about it as freight forwarders. They've gone into straight competition with freight forwarders by introducing the spot tool. But having said that, I still think that they are. In terms of service, in terms of operations, they've been way on top of the game than anyone else. But again, that's me, and I'm biased. We have a very good relationship with Maersk, so hence I'm saying that. But it's tough to have a biased opinion on that one.
Just a quick follow-up before Divyani asks a question.
Sure.
Why have they decreased their detention fee time?
So were you attending Chris's presentation before this? He did this. He addressed this thing. It's basically they want their containers out of demurrage so that they can move it to whoever wants it next. These 21 days, 18 days, 14 days, it's like people think that when they have 14 days free time, I don't know, they wake up on the 14th day to do something about it. So they're always gonna use all the photos. So now, like a 20 container shipment, they're going to have 20 containers standing there for 14 days. And then on the 15th day, these guys are going to clear their DO and they're going to, yes, of course, they'll probably return it back within the next 4 or 5 days, but that's still 20 days gone. It's like a month almost.
Yeah, I agree with you, Anupa, because customer has to change their mindset to have the free days sort of ideas. All the customers are sitting on why 14 days, 14. Why do you need 14 days? The customer, the container hit, you have to clear the goods very next day. Now the customs give clearance the same day the containers are at the CFS or at the main port, and you take to the containers, so 5 days is good enough. So the container availability to other customers or other port is already there. But still, I'm sorry to say, but a lot of the, 90% of the customer are looking for maximum 3 days. If you are not giving, they said, oh, I have got this kind of demurrage, you have to pay the demurrage cost, you have to, return back, you have to be at 50% cost, which is, very, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And here I want to just make a point, because, a lot of people, for some reason, they don't, I don't know, they don't know this or they don't realize it, but the port and the shipping line are not the same entity. So when the port is charging something, it's not that the shipping line they still have to pay the port. None of the shipping lines and the ports are together in, that's why we have detention and demurrage. Those are two things. So when a shipping line is giving you a certain amount of free time, the port free time that they get is one, and the detention, what they can give you is one. So, a lot of people seem to think that it's with the shipping lines to give you waivers, but once a port has charged them, there's not much that can be done with that. So ports and terminals do charge a lot. It's the same way as how aircrafts, for every landing that they have at every airport, they have to pay, and they have to pay to stand there for whatever time that they stand there. It's the same thing. It's just, in the ocean, and as a.
Divyani, if you'll take your, there you go. If you get off mute there.
And as far as this spot rate is concerned, for the MUX line, they are very good actually. That is with the interest of the customers who are importing and doing the spot rate. They are giving fantastic rate in spite of this kind of scenario. So actually, MUX is doing very well, for the customers.
Yes,
I appreciate that.
I agree with that.
Yes, Divyani.
Hi, Anupa.
Yeah.
Thank you, Abhay. So finally, I got the chance to say it. Thank you. Hi, Anupa. Your presentation was wonderful. I must say, I don't have much insights about supply chain and all those stuff, but I really, got some idea with the entire presentation that you put through, and I love the video part. That actually gave me a lot of things, that what it is exactly into. So I have two questions for you.
Sure.
One is, do you have any say about, the transition that supply chain industry adopted on the pathway of digitalization, and any problem that could be sorted, if the supply chain industry, they, go through the pathway of digitalization? It is slightly inclined with Chris's presentation, so I'm just converging both of it. That's the first one, if you get it.
Did we get any choice? Is that what you're saying? I'm not sure I understand.
No. What is your say about the transition that the supply chain industry adopted on the pathway of digitalization? As we are talking about the convergence of digitalization to all the industries, so do you have any say about, how supply chain industry is entering into that?
Oh, okay. So now I get your question. So yeah, absolutely. I think Sealink is one of the most, I'm actually going to be really modest over here and say Sealink is the only recyclable forwarder that has the kind of technology that we offer. We have a mobile app, we have a website, We give you rates online. We give you your bookings online. You can be sitting in anywhere on your phone and request a booking with me. You can get your rates. You can be in India. You can be in Dubai. So when it comes to digitalization, I think Sealink is up top there. We love it because it means that we can do things more efficiently. We can do things quicker, and the resources that we use are not as tied up in daily matters and operations. So for us, digitalization is extremely important. We're always striving. Trust me, we're always trying to get to the next level. The supply chain industry, on the other hand, is not very fast with digitalization. They're not completely there yet. Ports and terminals are not completely digitalized. Some of them still work with, it's a very physical business. There is an actual truck, there is paperwork, there is, I am hoping though that things are getting a little bit better and better as we go. A couple of years back, there was none of this, even now, shipping lines as big as MSC don't have an online presence. All you can do is track their containers. That's it. You can't do much of anything else. But now I think with Maersk, with Hapag, a little bit CMA, but CMA keep getting hacked all the time. So I don't know what's going on with them. But a lot of companies, the big ones, are getting more and more technology friendly than what they were before. And we're going to see a lot more of that coming up, especially with Maersk Spot. I think Maersk Spot, everybody that knew about this tool was like, this is not going to work, but it has been working. It has been going well. And I think all in all, this industry needs a lot more digitalization than it currently has.
But Anupa, if your company, suppose Sealink, is so much into digitalization, so why do you think that why not your competitors have adopted these ways? So what's the hindrance point basically?
That question you should ask my competitors.
But then also, at least you can evaluate something. See, I know the challenges or the generic statement which people into recycling industry do give us, that why they are not into digitalization. But I just wanted to have an idea about if you have any say. Otherwise, it's absolutely all right.
Because they don't see the long-term picture.
Okay.
That's what I would say. But otherwise, I mean, you may want to ask them.
But thank you so much, Anupa. Thank you for your kind answers.